All right. G'day, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Steeler Nation Australia on Facebook, Steeler Nation Australia on YouTube. Welcome to another post-game rundown. The Steelers versus Cincinnati Bengals. The Steelers are now 1-2. The Bengals beat us at home 24-10. I really don't know where to start with this game, I guess. I think the Bengals for us have always had, they've been our little brother. We'll say, we've always taken care of them. We've always, they haven't won a game in Cincinnati for the last 5 years. Zach Taylor hasn't won a game for, I think he's 1-16 away. So versus the Steelers, I think everyone thought this might have been a bounce back game. Joe Burrow threw 3 interceptions the previous week, and now they seem to come into town and really take it to us. So we'll go through a few short things. I've written a few things down to how the game played out, and I'm actually even watching the highlights now. And just some of the plays does feel very lackluster from our Steelers. It didn't. There's a funny feeling in the air. And we can't give up hope just yet, but there's a funny feeling in the air with this team that maybe they're not trying as hard as they can. Maybe Big Ben's out of rhythm. Our O-line's out of rhythm. Our defense, we have, the defense has so many injuries and they get injured within, week 3 or heading into the season. It's like, is this the exact same time? Since last year, we won 11 in a row and then we fell to pieces. Is it the same feeling? We have a new coach in Matt Canada. But is it the same feeling of, what does this team need to do to start winning football games? And we're 4th in the division now, but we still have the hardest schedule. So we'll talk a few things through that. Like, firstly, I want to start off with the flags. The flags, I think, were, I'm not saying the penalties cost us the game, but there was one in particular heading into the halftime, which we all saw, was the Melvin Ingram hit, where he led with his helmet, or he gave him a big bear hug, or rocked him around the shoulders. And apparently that was meant to be a flag. And the next minute, there's a big play from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase down the sideline, 14-7. The whole game changes. Now, you can't say penalties change the game like that, but in that certain instinct, it kind of does. It does it just a little bit. So, and even penalties on both sides. I think there was penalties from 10 on each team. There were holding calls everywhere. There were times where Naji got away from the running game. He did a big 20-yard run, and the next minute he's held on the play. So that's something that I think the NFL has always had trouble with. It doesn't matter what game you're watching. There's always a call that goes in your favor or goes against you. You can't do too much about it. You have to win more plays than the other guy and win the game and not worry about the penalties. However, that 14-7 go, well, that was pretty tough because we had came back and tied with a Frymouth score 7-7, but we gave them a minute on the clock. So we gave them 1 minute on the clock, which was really bad. We should have had the better time management. We should have had them maybe run down the clock to 20 seconds, or did what Rodgers did the other day. No, actually, who versed Rodgers? It was they left Green Bay Rodgers with 40 seconds, but San Fran should have took more time off the clock. So we gave the Bengals and Joe Burrow in this high-powered offense 1 minute before the half, and it came back to bite us. So those little things, like, they have to be worked out. This game, the NFL game, is so intriguing to watch, and if you give certain teams time, they will burn you. Okay, moving on to the next point. The short passing game, can we throw the ball? Can we throw the ball more than 5 yards, more than 7 yards, more than 8 yards? Can we throw that ball into the end zone? I don't know if you guys are sick of it, but I'm sick of seeing the check down. Not so much the check down to Naji. I take that back. I'm sick of seeing that preemptive play that swings out to the receiver who's on the sideline, who runs his route and sits there and waits for it. And he says, okay, when am I going to get it? I'm sick of that. Why can't we advance this ball down the field like every other NFL team does? It takes, Big Ben's going to arm, but we're not advancing the ball down the field. I think his average passing was like 1 point or 2 point average passing, and he threw the ball 60 times. So can we stop that? Can we move this ball? Can we have some excitement in this offense and really use our big receivers like Juju, like we did in 2016-17 when he did that 90-yard play versus the Detroit Lions? Can we move this ball somehow? You can't move it. If you're checking down to a receiver, or like the curl route or those routes that are 10 yards, 8 yards, you're not going to go anywhere because these defenses are going to swarm you and they're going to get over the top of you. All right. So then I'm still on the offense. The first drives are always predictable. Always predictable, the first drives. We haven't scored points in the first drive, and I think in 17 or 16 games. We just haven't done it. We just haven't scored points in a very long time, and that's got to change. And heading into Green Bay, that's even harder, but it's got to change. We come out. I would rather put the defense on the field and try and stop them, and then get the ball back, because we haven't seen that from our offense. We haven't seen it at all. So first drive, you've got to put points on the board to set the tone. And even as I watch the highlights here, Big Ben, I'm watching the 40-minute highlight reel. Big Ben was 3 for 6 or something with 7 yards and 1 interception. We'll get to Big Ben. Okay. Our offense, too predictable, way too predictable. Even with the motions, you can see that the defense knows where we're going to be. With the 4th and 10. With the 4th and 10 play to Naji. Why don't you go to the end zone? Are you scared of the end zone? You had 3 plays to go to the end zone, and yet you try and do a screen to Naji, which didn't work. And the next minute you had 3 or 4 Bengals all over you, and you go 1 yard, and it was a 4th and 10. One of the worst plays I've ever seen in my life. It's almost as like they're throwing the ball to on paper where it's going to be, where it's going to work, what's going to happen, what should work, and they're not reading the actual game. Why don't you read what Mike Hilton's coming down the box? Why don't you read what the safety's coming down to the box? Or that he's spying your RB. Similar thing with the receiving route. Some of the receivers too. I see them run their routes, and they're not like running their route against a cornerback. I feel like they're running their route just to run their route. They're going to work just to turn up. They're not going to work to excel, to push it past the threshold and do something amazing. You watch a lot of the receiving routes, and they just seem to me that they're run their route, stand there. When am I going to get it? Where's the extent of the play? Big Ben's always going to get in trouble, and he's getting slower, but he's going to find someone. Where's that person running across the middle or extending the play like all these other NFL teams are? We are so bland and boring at the moment on offense. We really are. Okay, running game. We're 57 yards, I think, average in the NFL for 30 seconds. 57 yards average. That's pretty bad. That's dead last. And the only guy who's helping us out at the moment is Naji Harris. Naji Harris is the guy for me that he is definitely he is trying his hardest. And their offensive line is really part of the problem. They can't get any push. And as I see another one there, 3rd and 6, and Big Ben throws to no one. So this offense has a really big problem. But Naji's trying his heart out. On every run he goes, he's trying to go 1,000,000 miles an hour. But he can't do it all. We can't let him burn himself out. That's a big problem, a huge problem. And I don't have the answers. I'm just calling it out like you are, or like whoever's listening to hear it. The offensive line is young. We have Dan Moore. We have Chooks on the side. He's had a fair few goes. Trey Turner from the Panthers. We have Green, and we have Dotson, all young fellas. But they've got to come together, and they've really got to work as a team and a unit. Otherwise, we're going to go nowhere. We're going to go absolutely nowhere. I don't know. Okay, let's end this, and then I'll take a quick break, and I might do a video edit and see what happens. But let's end this on Big Ben. Big Ben has been playing in this offense through our Steelers, and he's an absolute legend. Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl, been there 3 times. He is a legend. Now, is there a chance, though, that this game is catching up to him? He's been 18 years in the league. He's 39 years old. I'm 31, right? And I look like a bloody shagger right here. But he's 39 years old. Is the game getting too fast for him? Is the Bengals defense getting too fast? Is the safeties getting too fast? Is the guys from the Washington football team, who's that guy, Chase Young, getting too fast for him? Big Ben's got a massive, he's really smart. He's a football savvy guy. But, don't we all wish we had a guy like Mahomes or Josh Allen? I know because the draft is kind of get that way. It's hard to get those guys, right? You've got to lose to get them. But wouldn't it be great to have someone who could be mobile again in the pocket that can break down the defenses with their legs as well, that can run around, that can do some special things? It's like that, and I watch this play now, that Big Ben held the ball for 4 seconds, first and 10, 7 minutes to go in the second quarter, and he had nowhere to go. He's not like he used to be, and the only way he will be like he used to be is if these receivers start winning their routes on their cornerbacks. And I think Big Ben needs to find a person, his guy for this offense. He needs someone like a safety net. Could it be Freiermuth? I don't care who it is. It needs to be someone who can be a safety net. And I don't think his safety net can be Naji, because Naji he's a check down guy to get him out of trouble. But you need someone to push that ball further than the sticks, and like a guy like AB. Now, we didn't have Deontay in this game. So I think this year Deontay was going to be key. But then Deontay got hurt because for some reason that Mike Tomlin told, Deontay to, run a, what do you do? 20 seconds ago in the last game, then he got injured. What I'm saying is, in this league, in this AFC North, as I see Claypool do a good run, Big Ben, is time catching up? I'm not saying he's done. But I'm saying this could be maybe his last year or second last year. And I still think he's the best. He is the best quarterback on our roster. It's just that you have other guys like Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield, who are all young fellas who are all really good, or can be really good on their day. It's just Ben is he's having a bit of trouble and struggle. But then how did he go 11-0 through the others? Through last season. So these things can be fixed as well. Get our offensive line healthy. Don't be as predictable, running the ball or passing the ball. So Big Ben's going to do that. And then we'll head into the defense and then the overall post game. All right, and we're back to Steeler Nation Australia and Steeler Nation Australia on Facebook and YouTube. And I guess we're back depending how well I edit that. We'll see what happens. Hey, let's keep talking about the game. So I still got a few more points here about the offense. We're scoring 20 points a game apparently on the average here, which is pretty terrible. We had 35-minute possession. We had 21 first downs against 12, and we ran 77 plays. Now, last week I said we had to, find a way to get this offense going. But you can't turn the ball over like Naji did. So let's go into. I'm going to put. How do I move this up here? I'm going to check the overall stats, and we'll just get a better idea of what really happened. So if you guys can see that, let's go into it. Okay, now this is where we're still on the offense. Let's go over most of the stats. Big Ben was 38 for 58 for 300 yards, 5.5 average, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, and a QBR rating of 38. That's pretty terrible. But we already spoke about Ben. Naji was 14 carries, 40 yards for 2.9 average, and the longest of 20 yards. Now I don't blame Naji for the lack of yards there. I think you've got to run the ball more. How are you passing this? How are you still passing this football 60 times to 14 running? I don't understand. I really don't. So Naji had checkdowns for 14. That's great. He got us out of trouble, but you can't rely everything on Naji. Chase Claypool had 96 yards for no TDs, longest 29, but some of that was garbage time. McLeod, he had 33. Juju got injured, and he had 25. And Frymouth, really, and even the touchdown, it was a good scheme. It was a good understanding of the defense, but it wasn't really Big Ben throwing the football down, past 30 yards. It was like a shovel pass to Frymouth, and he gets into the end zone. All right. James Washington a bit quiet too, but it really depends who he targets. And Cody White came in, I believe once Juju got injured, he got 17 yards. So that's, I think to win this game or to control it more, you've got to run the football more. You really do, and get first downs. And you can't be throwing the 2 interceptions that Ben threw were terrible. The second one was just like he threw it right into his breadbasket. It was awful. Joe Sherbert had 5 tackles. All these guys had 5 tackles. And this is the game that I believe in 75 games this is the first time we haven't got a sack. 75 games is the very first time we have not got 1 sack. So that streak ends. We were getting 1 sack a game for the last, 3 or 4 or 5 years, and now it's ended. So, and on the defense too, we had Sherbert. We had guys like Mollett, he didn't play last year. Norwood, the rookie. Ingram didn't play last year. Bugs is in there. Derek Sutska, whoever that bloke is, came off the practice squad. So the injuries too, like the defense has a lot of injuries. No TJ Watt, no Highsmith. We have a lot of problems going on. James Pierre was in there as a corner as well. Even have Naji having a tackle, so he made a tackle after an interception. So the kick returns wasn't on the was as normal. You can't really do too much with that. Punt returns, I think Ray didn't play his best game. He let one bounce. And kicking, Boswell missed a kick from 43 yards or something like that, and he was meant to be automatic. So I still like Bos, but you can't rely on your kicker all the time to get points. You have to use the offense to really do some things. So that's the overall stats. Like we had some big crazy stats, right? But the other team, the Bengals, had a better game. Joe Burrow only threw for 18 times, 14 for 18, 172, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And they ran the ball 24 times. So that's the big difference there. Mixon, 90 yards. We let him get away. And Joe Burrow ran 5 times as well because he's more of a mobile quarterback. Jamar Chase, a brilliant rookie, is absolutely killing us. 65 yards, 2 TDs, and that one big one. So where do we go from here? That's the how do I stop this? Where do we go from here? That's the big thing. We've got Green Bay coming in. We're going to Green Bay, so we have the Steelers going to Green Bay. And I'm not going to ride the Steelers off just yet. I'm really not. I'm not going to ride them off just yet. It's only been 3 games. Now, maybe after 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, and we go 1-6, 1-5, or whatever we are, then maybe we just go, okay, that's the progression of this season is the way it's going to be. It's going to be a losing season. But I still have faith in Mike Tomlin. I think they've got to work things out. I really think that the O-line has to work something out. You watch the plays. They can't move that ball. They can't move that ball forward. They just can't do it. They're just not moving that pile. They're just getting ran over every single time. And we have a tough game. We've got a tougher schedule. Great. But we have a tough game versus Green Bay coming up into Lambeau. Now, Rodgers was beat the first. We have a tough game versus the Green Bay Packers at home. Like, they are a high-powered offense. Rodgers has always been good, always been great. Always have a chip on his shoulder. Always really wants to beat teams to, beat them by a lot because he wants to win another Super Bowl. So I don't know what's going to happen. We won't be favorites in that game. There's no way we'll be favorites. The whole world now is against us. They're all saying Schittsburg and all that kind of things. You go onto any NFL site and they're calling us. I don't know if they're just waiting for this day because we have been so successful throughout the years in the 70s, in the histories, and even in the 2000s, 2008 and 10 and all the Super Bowls we went to. But, the fans are just waiting. They're waiting. The NFL fans are waiting for us to stuff up. So, and it's finally happened. We apparently, we're not in a good headspace in our locker room. I find that a lot of these players they're all waiting for someone to do something. They're waiting for that first person to make the big tackle, get the interception, read the play, run over someone. Like, there's individual efforts, but we need them to come together as a team. And I think the perfect example would be against a guy like Rodgers. Have our D-line. Hopefully we get some guys back. I don't know when Tuitt's coming back. We need Watt back for sure. We need Highsmith back. We need those two guys to really get after Rodgers. So as I see Naji do it for a massive run. Like, Naji is just the guy at the moment. He is one of the only ones that I think's got some heart for our Steelers. And if we can get Naji a clean pocket, then things will become a lot better. Some running lanes and some getting one-on-one with the safety, getting one-on-one with the linebacker. All right. So before I end, I just wanted to read some comments I got from Facebook on Steel Nation Australia. You guys are on it because you're watching this now. So I'll just say their first name. If you know who you are, you'll know who you are. That makes sense. So Rob says here, it feels like every other team is improving in our division, and we're just treading water. Mason isn't the replacement. The O-line is subpar. There's a lot of pressure on Ben to perform miracles. That being said, trust the process and the coaching. Let's see what they can do. I agree with you, Rob. I completely agree with you. Every other division does feel like they're in front of us. They really do. And maybe it's been happening over the last 2 years. The O-line is subpar. The O-line is not playing the way it normally has. I don't know if that's coaching, if that's individual effort, if that's collective effort. The O-line has to keep Ben up and has to do something, okay? And there was another comment, it might have been one of Rob's friends, or I don't know who this person is, but it was from Daniel. And Daniel said, the Steelers are the West Tigers of the NRL. Now, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't think so. And then Rob backed it up and said, Steelers fans have more credit and we support our club more, which we do. We really do. Our Steel fandom and our community is great. Like, it is absolutely unbelievable. You wear these colors and you walk around the world and you make mates with everyone. I can't wait to go have beers in, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Japan, and wear these colors. And I could honestly talk about the football all the time and travel. And if I can make money while doing it, I lived in Canada, go work in Canada again and make money and then talk football on the weekends. That's all I want to do. So the community is great. We're not the West Tigers. I can't say too much about them, but they are a losing franchise in the NRL. It's only 2 games. It's 2 games. It's 2 games that in this season that we have got wrong, and we beat the Bills. So we're still 1-2. We're still, we're in a chance. Okay, another comment on that same thread. And this one I kind of disagree with, but it's your opinion, so it all counts. Mitch from the page says, nice to see the Steelers tanking early to get a better draft pick next year to find a young QB. Cap space is hard, but missing Bud and the injuries are taking a toll. 100%. I agree with you on the last bit. I don't agree with you on the first bit. Nice to see the Steelers tanking early to get a better draft pick. The Steelers will never tank. They never will. The organization won't allow them to do it. We're not the Jets. We're not the Jags. We're not, to a certain extent, the Bears. We're not the Giants. We have a well-run organization. We have speed humps along the way, but we're a well-run organization, so we won't do that. I don't want to watch a year of football that I love to see my team go 1-16, to see them go 2-15 with another extra game. I don't want to do that. I want to see them be competitive and play the game and wake up Monday mornings at 3 a.m. to watch my team hopefully win. And it's a great time if they do. It's an average time if they don't. I want to see the individual performers succeed and do things. I want to see Naji have a really big year and beat Franco Harris' record. I want to see Juju get the most receptions or touchdowns. I want to see Ben have a bounce back game. I want to see Minka Fitzpatrick get most interceptions in the game. There is no way you can convince 53 players to tank for one player or one spot in the draft. Now, coaching coaching decisions may help that. Last year with Philadelphia, they took out Jalen Hurts, and they shouldn't have. They put Sudfield in, and then he went down, and the Eagles game lost that game, and they fell 3 or 4 spots to get the better draft pick. So coaching alignments and coaching decisions can help that, but having 53 players who want to win the game and play competitive football, I don't see that happening. It's an interesting idea, though, Mitch. If you do that, if they do tank or they do happen to lose, then yes, we'll have a better draft pick for the future, maybe for the O-line or Ben's successor on the QB. I don't know who the QBs are. It doesn't really matter. Whoever the QB would be, that would be interesting. I just don't see it happening because I think throughout Mike Tomlin's 15, 16 years, he's always been above 500 and he always wants to win. Now, at the moment, we're 1-2, but that's 2 games that we versed, in a pretty up-and-coming angry Bengals side and a Raiders team that always gets us. So we'll see what happens when we have versing the Packers and if we can go back to 2-2. Okay. I had another comment here from Peter on the page as well. Not just Ben. The O-line has been awful in protecting him. Blocking for an effective run game. Lack of depth on the D is hurting. And from what I've seen so far, questionable play calling from the coaches. I like Rudolph, but he is getting scared of getting hit. Putting him by the O-line at the moment is going to make things worse. Maybe play Haskins. I agree with you to extent too. The coaching, some of the questionable play calls are crazy. Like that 4th and 10 with Naji was terrible. Like how do you do that? You can see the end zone. Are you scared of the end zone? And you throw to Naji on a screen, and this isn't like college. You're going to have 3 or 4 guys run down to you and tackle you in a heartbeat. You have to throw further than the sticks to get that first down. We've seen with so many teams that players catch the ball in front of the sticks and try and make their way to the first down, and it doesn't happen because the defenses are too fast. They're way too fast in the NFL. Peter says, do we play Haskins or do we play Rudolph? No, I don't think we do just yet. And if you do, I think you've got to say to Ben, well, that's the year. I think if you're going to move on from Ben, you can't move on from him for 2 or 3 weeks and bring him back. I think you've got to, if injury-wise, yes. Injury-wise, you can say to Ben, oh, mate, your pectoral muscles hurt or your arm's sore. How about you sit this week and we'll play someone else? You get healthy and we'll bring you back. But a game time decision where you tell Ben he can't play and then you bring him back after, the Steelers have never really done that too. So they're going to hang on to Ben and Ben could go out this week and really we've seen his bad games and we've seen his really good games as well. We've seen the 5 touchdowns versus the Colts. We've seen the 5 touchdowns versus the Ravens one year. We've seen that can happen. It's just they've got to work some real things out. And you and I aren't in the office. They've got to work some things out, get on the practice field, and really get after it. So they won't give up on Ben yet because Ben is their best chance to win. And I think I have one more. 2 more comments from the Facebook page from Steel Nation Australia. John says, hopefully that's our final ugly game and we can bounce back. 100%. Now, it may not be a final ugly game, but that was a pretty bad game. To the point that Tyler Boyd from the Bengals said we weren't trying near the end. And however, the Bengals have a history of not trying or not turning up as well. So that was quite comical. Every player out there is trying. We just need that little bit of extra effort to have a go and a dig. Need the ball to bounce our way. And, you just got to try that extra tiny bit harder. And then you have a good chance. Robert says on the page, I'm all for Big Ben, but that was a terrible game. O-line bad, D-line bad. That's it. We are losing up front. We are losing the war in the trenches, as they say. It's the big boppers up front on either side of the football. We are losing. Anyone can see that. Absolutely, we can't move that football. We're 32nd in running. The defense didn't get to the quarterback for the first time in 75 games. So have we been, have we been blessed to get a sack in 75 games? It's an NFL record. An NFL record. We've got to the quarterback 75 times. So it could be that. It could be that we were so blessed and we have been watching this team throughout the last 20 years through my duration of being such a winning franchise and doing everything great, maybe we are falling from grace just a little bit. And we need a bit of a wake-up call. We need the Cam to get in there and start shaking everyone by the shoulder pads and really getting after it. Okay, I got one last point. Hang with me, and then we'll call it a day for the post-game. Okay, so I went onto the Facebook with Bob Pompiani. He's a news anchor over there. And according to him, this is what happened and I disagree with this a lot. Former Ryan, he says on his Facebook post, former Steeler Ryan Clark said on ESPN this morning, and says he's upset with what he's seeing in Pittsburgh, right? Ryan Clark said this, quote, "It's an end of an era of actually having a Super Bowl window, and this is a total organizational failure." Can you believe that? I can't believe it. We've lost 2 games, and he's already calling this an organizational failure. Mate, in some aspects, Ryan Clark, you were lucky to be a part of a Super Bowl team with Troy. You were good. You were good, mate. But you were lucky as well. You had the defense that was, in 2008 was one of the best defenses. You came from the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, mate. So I don't know what you're talking about, saying this is an organizational failure. You were good for us, but you weren't great. Let's put it that way. It's the end of an era, and you basically saying you missed the Super Bowl window. We had some good chances back in 2016 with Brown, Bell, and the Killer Bees. Didn't happen. We got to the AFC Championship game, and it didn't happen near the end. So to call this team after 2 losses in 2021 because Ben's getting older and the offensive line looks different because everyone's new, an organizational failure is a joke. It is one big joke. I don't really like Ryan. I liked him as a player. He was okay. He was a hard thumping player he helped out Troy. He let Troy, run around the field and do what he wanted to do. But you had so many people in front of you, Ryan, and you won't see this, but it'd be cool if you did. But you had so many people in front of you. You had Farrier, Foote, you had James Harrison, you had Lamar Woodley when he was there, you had Big Snack Hampton, you had Kiesel. You had all these stars, these Steelers stars. So to call this an organizational failure, you were part of one of the best 2008 defenses, right? But you might have been the wagging wheel on that defense. You could have been. From all the players on that defense, even William Gay, I would probably rate higher than Ryan Clark. You were there at the safety to make sure that the bomb didn't go over the top when Troy ran around and did his thing. There were much more inspirational players on that 2008 defense than there were for yourself, Ryan. I've got a James Harrison, jersey. There are a lot of other players. Not saying you were a bad player, but to come out and put shit on your organization after you played for them, why would you do that after 2 games? So if that's not fuel to the fire for some of these players to really say, one of our former teammates, Ryan Clark, saying this about us, then I don't know what is. You catch his takes on some of his podcasts and some other things. He seems to be very wishy-washy. Sometimes he'll say things like this, saying we are a failure after 2 games. And that's even for a coach who you played for, he was really good with Mike Tomlin and Keith Butler there and stuff like that. So how do you come out and say that? I was shocked when I saw that. I really was like, Ryan, you're making your bed, mate. And not saying he's a fair weather fan, but a lot of the fair weather fans now are jumping off the ship and saying the season's over. It's not over. It's not over. It's only 1 and 2. There's so many more games to go. But I just thought that was interesting that we have wasted the Super Bowl window and we're in a total organizational failure. So Ryan Clark, I just want to say, mate, last words. You weren't the best one on the 2008 defense. I could name 10 other players, I probably already did, that were in front of you. So you weren't the best. You weren't the best guy there. So maybe you were lucky to be a part of the Steelers. You helped us out, but maybe you were lucky. So I don't know how you can throw rocks in a glass house or whatever. You're doing that, mate. That's interesting, and I'm going to go into the comment and see what some other fans are saying because, Ryan Clark was okay, but why are you throwing shade on the Steelers, mate? It's only 1 and 2. If we come out and beat the Packers, then we're back to 2 and 2. And then you'll probably flip the script and say, well, we have a chance, or you'll go into if we end up having a good season in the end, you'd be like, this is one of the best Steelers seasons I've seen. They come from hard times. So I don't know. It's just my thoughts and what I think of, comments like that. But that's the day and age we live in with social media. Even to a certain extent, I can have this platform to say my things, and whoever went the 37 minutes, I appreciate you guys. So I want to end on that. It was a longer video, and hopefully you guys did check it out. But it helps me get the Steeler mess off my chest. And hey, Ryan, mate, this season is now for you. We've got to prove you wrong, because we're not a failure. We're not a failure organization. There are teams that still haven't even won yet. The Jets haven't won a game in 9 games. They haven't scored, or something like that. They haven't scored points in 9 quarters. So, all right, guys, just want to say thanks to everyone who did check out the video on Steeler Nation Australia on Facebook and Steeler Nation Australia on YouTube. Throughout the week, I'll be doing an AFC rundown as well. So look out for that. But basically, don't give up hope yet. We still have a big chance. We have a really good chance. Because we have Ben, we have our defense, and once we get the pieces back, we paid TJ all that money. Once we get him back, we have a shot. We have a good shot at just being. Let's just be competitive for the moment. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but let's be competitive and let's enjoy our games. I'll be going live as well on the Green Bay game if you made it this far. So I'll see you guys live on the Green Bay game. Cheers, guys, everyone. And let's go Steelers. Here we go.